Hello, paint process video. Listening to Jiddu Krishnamurti, as always. I'm doing the fine-tuning process here to get all the uneven bumps and all of that out. This is also a meditation because it requires a lot of breathing and a lot of being in the now, allowing, and it requires a lot of mindfulness. I believe that art can save the whole world. If we all started painting, if everyone started painting, I believe it would really save the whole world. It doesn't matter whether the painting is good, quotation marks, or bad. Because good or bad is measurement again, and it comes from the ego and the self-images and so on. Measurement in a bad way. So we need to dissolve that. You just paint. That's all you do. There are people who just paint, like for example, Jonathan Miese or Lars Ulrich from Metallica. They just paint. It doesn't have to be measured. They just paint because they just love putting the color onto the canvas, and experimenting with it without self-image, without What is society gonna think about it? You just like to explore with it. And that's what I want people to do. Let art tell you where it goes, not what society expects of you. Yes, he is. Art can be done meticulously, kind of like the way I work, or you can work like Jackson Pollock, very intuitively, or you can work like a photorealist, like that girl from Lithuania. What's her name? And Akiana Krameric. And there are many other photorealists out there. Also, another one is Patricia Piccinini, very, very detailed drawings and artwork and sculptures. Or Jeff Koons also knows how to paint photorealistically. So I have done some more accurate drawings. When I draw, it is more in the accurate direction. But that photorealism is not my type of style because I like to distort things. That's just what I love to do. You know, or you can paint with aquarelle colors. You can whatever you feel like, you know, whatever feels good. I like to work with the heavy acrylic paint. Whatever feels good. But do it. Just do it. Serve art. That's what Jonathan Mises said. Art needs to rule the world. That's what he means by this. It's the same thing that Jiddu Krishnamurti means. Is to dissolve the self-images and to let art take over. You serve art. I'm serving art. That's the infinite. Art is the infinite. When you're really into this process, you dissolve the self-images. For a lot of people, this is frightening. That's why a lot of people hate modern art, because it dissolves the self-images. It takes things out of proportions. It loses control. It goes into groundlessness. Don't be afraid to paint. Paul too, you know. Paul says, I can't paint. I don't want to paint. I don't know. I have to put him I have to put a sort of like a I have to force him into it, or so. I can't force him into it, but one time I said, please, just one thing, just draw me one thing, and he drew a stick figure. It's like, oh man, you can let go, let go. When you let go, you don't let go of the whatever images you have. You can draw a stick figure if that's what you want to work with, if that's what you like. Is that what you like? If you really like it, then some people do. Then that is their way of expressing. But for Paul, it wasn't. It's just like, you see, I can't paint, and or people say I can't draw a straight line. I can't draw a straight line either. You follow this process, you see how painstakingly this is. That's also the wrong word. This is not painful. But how diligent I am working on this. It is a calibrating, like, to get just the right curve that I want, that my brain wants. So I can't do that right curve just in one stroke. Maybe I can, yes, I can do very loosely. But then I have to, when I go intuitively, but then I go into the fine-tuning process, as I always do. And then in the fine-tuning process, I make something crooked, and then I have to correct it, and I correct it again. And so, so it is a very diligent process. If you do the raw sketch first, it could be crooked. It doesn't matter if it's crooked. Then you shape it out as you go. You fill it in, you correct it, you do layers upon layers. You trust your instinct. You trust the gut instinct of it. And through this medium, art or sculpture, even sewing or any kind of artistic expression, could also be music, or poetry or writing. You find a medium in which your brain can recover, in which your brain can finally express itself, express all these things that your brain has always wanted to say, but has been too afraid to say. You can say it through art. There's no right or wrong in art. Right or wrong is measurement, that's the realm of measurement, and that's Maya, that's illusion. It's not truth. Measurement is not truth. What matters is, number one is compassion, which is love, true love. True love is compassion for all living beings equally much. So, and that's the most important thing. And also relaxing into the now and letting yourself flow with nature and art. Flow is the key. hanging on to a self-image, like the people under the Jiddu Krishnamurti video. That's what they all do, thinking they're not, thinking they have moved beyond, but that's become another self-image. You know, I have moved beyond. That's another self-image. So, and then they don't want to lose that self-image of having moved beyond. And all of that is just self-lies, you know, self-kidding. That's why I try to put this into other words here in these videos. Try to make his message understood better. Truly being in the flow of art is being a way outside, having dissolved all the self-centered thought and action in that moment. Because this is not about me here. This is not about my image, my status, or whatever. This is me being a child who is completely and totally dissolved in this art. I have basically I have dissolved like a candle into the art. I become art then. That's what a child does. Be in this happiness of color and form. That's a form of proliferation of infinite flow. That's what the infinite cosmos is doing. It's infinite flowing. It's the joy of flowing with the infinite, with art, with love, with compassion, with altruism, with being there for the other. Completely 100%. Without apprehension, without judgment, being completely there for the other. No more clinging, you know. No more clinging, because clinging is resistance. Clinging is resistance to the flow. That's why so many religious people are mean and cold and arrogant, because they cling to their image, to their religion, to their whatever, you know, they have been told. It has become their identity. We don't know any other identity than that. Someone outside of this realm, someone who is free, someone who is not bound to it, is regarded as a clown. A clown is regarded as dangerous. I think that's also where the fear of clowns is coming from. You know, there are people who have phobia, a real mental illness phobia of clowns. I believe now, I just had this insight about it. I'm talking to my tablet, and I think that's where it comes from. They're terrified of clowns. Oh, God. You know, that's why a lot of people are terrified of me. I'm a danger to their ego, to the self-image. They treat me real abusively because of it. But then when, for example, when they have to bring their child to safety in an emergency situation, and there's 100 people and I am there too, they will bring the child to me for safety. Because deep down they know I am the only one who can be trusted with the child. I'm using this as an example now. Because I've actually been through this. I've seen it firsthand. So, but once the emergency situation is restored and they're back to their normal routine, they'll continue hating me. That's how the ego works. It's very frustrating for me to see. Very frustrating. Makes me feel very alone. Makes me feel very disrespected and alone and it's very hurtful. But that's where we're at. That's what's happening. And I'm digging deep into this. I'm digging deep into the root of why people act the way they do. And we can't dig down into the roots of psychology unless we are willing to dig into ourselves as well. You can't be an outsider of that for yourself and help someone else or understand someone else. You have to dig deep into yourself also all the time. That's why it is so important that a therapist, for example, reveals her own story to the patient as well, or his. I've seen that as at the center. Leslie was not willing to talk about her own childhood, having been a foster child, to her client, who it's also interesting that she had Walter as a patient. Walter, who had been a foster child. Where does he end up at? He didn't know that Leslie was a foster child. There was this group session. Walter complaining, Leslie, you don't understand me, you don't understand me. And why didn't she? Because she was in resistance to her own childhood. And when you are doing that, you cannot help that other person. There's no way. When you are in resistance, then you're also automatically in resistance towards that other person and his story. So you can't allow your own story. So it frustrated me so much that I said to Walter right in front of everyone, I said, but wait a minute, Leslie was a foster child too. And he was like, what? And it helped him so much because instantly he understood her resistance and the whole thing. But Leslie's ego, you can imagine, was not okay with that. She didn't even talk to me anymore after that. Come out of these resistances, people, particularly if you are a psychotherapist, and particularly if you're a primatherapist. Man, you have to come out of your own resistances. You have to dissolve your own jealousy in order to understand someone's jealousy. That's also another thing that I noticed with another woman and my mother. When I was talking about my jealousy feelings, they have become real rigid and real hardened, and they go, "Well, that's your problem." Sort of, like snot nosed. I was like, wow, why are they so cold in this regard? And so now I realize they were cold in this regard because they have terrible jealousy issues themselves. Oh man. And that other lady with the jealousy issue has become also gotten that counseling license and is now helping people. I don't know if she is helping people. If she doesn't dig into that, how can she help people? You can't. She, as long as I have known that other lady, I'm not gonna say her name. She was a trainee like I was at the center, but now later on she's become a counselor herself. So, but not anymore in the field of primal therapy because she wasn't working for them anymore. But it doesn't matter, you can't be a counselor of any sort, you can't be a therapist if you haven't dug deep into your own stuff. You have to do it. If you have dug deep into your stuff with, let's say, use that example, jealousy, which most people have, by the way, too. Some have it really extreme. So my mother and that lady and I had it very extreme. It's not so extreme anymore because I'm really getting into it. I'm diving into it. The moment you're diving into it, it can't be extreme anymore when the resistance is no longer there. So that's how things get dissolved. I'm very grateful for that. I'm working on it all the time, on this self-observation process and all of this. But for people like that lady and my mother, if they don't dive into it, it's not going to get resolved. And they're never going to understand someone else, whether it's their own daughter or a client. They'll never understand someone else with that issue of jealousy if they have not gone deep into it. Because when you get deep into it and someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, I'm so jealous of this girl, I suffer so much, I don't know how to deal with this, I feel suicidal," whatever. If you have gone deep into it yourself, you will not be in resistance, like, "That's your problem." You will be like this: "I'm here for you and I have my arms wide open. Come here, my baby bear. I will take you into my arms. I am fully there for you. Fully. Fully." That's how we will be for the other person, without any resistance whatsoever. We will see the suffering of the other. We feel deep compassion. Like Thich Nhat Hanh feels deep compassion for people, even people who were soldiers in Vietnam. He felt deep compassion for them because he knew what they were, where they were coming from, and he could feel it. He was really there for them. There was no resistance. Because he has gone into these things, into total acceptance, totally in the flow. Someone who has really taken the teachings of the original teachings of Gautama Buddha very seriously. That's the same message of Jiddu Krishnamurti. That is the message of totally going into it. When you go totally into it, you have no more resistance towards anyone at all. You will be understanding that other person, and you will open your arms wide and you say, "Come to me, I will hold you in my arm. I understand you. I know where you are at." And there will be no judgment. There will be nothing you can do wrong. You know, when you are with a person who is completely 100% taking you into her or his arms. The total understanding, total acceptance of the other person, total love, compassion for the other person. No resistance. There's no, "Oh, I have friends come over. Oh, I'm busy. I have to, you know." There's none of that. There is like, "Come to me. Come with me. I make you a tea at home." It's not like, "Oh, yeah, but you have to pay for it. Or you have to, you know, you better sign up for a session, or I'm not going to." You know, I've seen veterinarians saying, "I have my time off now. I'm not going to deal with that animal." It's like, when you are a veterinarian, you take some kind of emotional agreement. You have to sign that, even that will be your job to help animals in this profession, whether you are paid or not. And that's how it should be. That's how it is if you are not in resistance. If you don't have resistance, you will help every living being, whether they pay you or not. It's an honor system, you know. I don't like the word honor, but you know, it's a system of gratitude. It's a gratitude system, you know. If the client is grateful to you that you helped his animal, and then he will pay you later or something. What matters is now. The animal needs you now. You know? The woman that's jealous and suicidal needs you now. Not can't wait for later until she has worked in a bar or whatever to make the money for the session. You know? So when you are not in resistance, you will help that living being now without any resistance, without any OCD or snobbishness or any kind of apprehension. There's no more apprehension. You need help from that person. The person, if he or she has resolved their issues, they will be there 100% for you. And if they're not there 100% for you, if you can see that there is an apprehension going on, then that is not your friend. And the person has not dug into it and is not receptive to it. Then you have to move on to someone who is receptive and who is willing to dig into it. That's why, for example, we were traveling with our former dog Samantha. She was a 3/4 Great Dane and 1/4 Labrador, black and white girl. We were traveling with her after Ludwig died. He was 100% European Great Dane. And he died in 2004, around Halloween. It was awful. It was awful for me. Awful. I felt so completely out of balance for over a year. The grief it really lasted for 2 years, that grief. I'm also still grieving over Kenny. And I will grieve over Kenny for the rest of my life. I know. Papa Dog saved my life here. So, but anyway, we went traveling with Samantha, and we came across so many different people. So many people with resistances and jealousies, and it was very interesting also to encounter all these people with all these psychological problems. It's like everyone we met had deep psychological problems and wounds to deal with, whether they admitted it or not, whether they were sort of obvious about it, or whether it was completely concealed. I saw it anyway. So it was anyone, okay? The people at the post office, the people at the bakery, the police officers, the highway patrol guy, everyone. So finally we came to Reno, and on the way back to the ocean, before the Donna Pass, we went to a hot spring resort. And I went to the post office to send my parents a letter or a package. And there was this amazing woman at the post office. And usually I go to the post office, the people are usually really, really resistant. But this woman was surprisingly in the flow. And there was no resistance towards me at all. And I noticed that some people are very, very afraid of a person who has no resistance towards them. That's something. And Paul will argue and say, yeah, that's because they think you want something from them. You're too friendly or something, or you're needy. Or why are people afraid of neediness? That's another question. Because of resistance, because they haven't resolved the underlying pain of their own neediness, their own possessiveness, their own needs, and so on. So this woman at the post office was completely welcoming to me. And it's very rare that happens. Very, very, very rare. And Paul is also very welcoming to me. And that's why I got together with Paul. Because he's welcoming to me. He's not apprehensive. He's not in resistance. He is in resistance to some things, but not to me as a person. And that's why I am here. While the strawberry farmer from San Francisco, who I met at the center in LA, he was in resistance to me because of his unresolved issues. There was something about me that scared him. There was a neediness in me that scared him because he said that I'm too much like a puppy dog, needy like a puppy dog is. I love beings like that, whether they're animals or people. I love needy puppy dogs. I feel strong oxytocin for a needy puppy dog. And I have much understanding and love for myself for that matter. And we all should have love for ourselves. But I knew there was some real unresolved issue, something was going on with that guy, that he was in such resistance. Clinging to a religion also is, that's the same type of, same energy. It's resistance. It's resistance to the actual truth of everything. My mother is probably the most resistant person I have ever met. The most resistant. And kind of frigid, cold. Very reserved. That's fear that causes people to do that. To be reserved. That's being on guard, psychologically. You can't connect with anyone if you are not letting go of that guard. You can't make anyone feel safe expressing their own deepest depth if you are on guard. That's also a total relationship destroyer when people become guarded. Another lady yesterday I saw talked about this. The moment you become guarded, the relationship dwindles down. You have to stay in the flow with yourself mainly, That's the most important thing, regardless of the other people. But when you are in that flow with yourself and you are really honest with yourself, with that self-observation and digging deep in, then you are not guarded, and then you are inviting the other people to feel safe with you as the inner child that they are. So many people that are guarded towards me. So many people. So many people that I had my arms open for them. On the internet also. So many people I wanted to connect with, like Bob Hickman and Eric Jacob. And they are completely locked off towards me. Completely. I met a guy once who he wasn't in love with me at all, but he was not locked up. See, that's why I have to differentiate this now, because someone will say, what if someone isn't into you? I have no problem with that. So, I had a friend, his name was Eric also, and he saved me through some real rough times in 2012. We were writing each other letters. Like, I fell in love with him because I always feel I fall in love with a rescuer or someone who's there for me. And I said, how do you feel about me? He said, I don't feel the same about you romantically, but I like you as a friend, and I was totally okay with it. And I was very grateful to him that he was so honest with me about it. Didn't play a game with me or something. Didn't play for his ego to cash in on cat and mouse or something, or the he didn't need the flattery or something to feed him. So, and then some men, they will flatter me, and they will, some men, they want my flattery, but they don't want to respond to me in the way I wanted it, and but they will still keep me going. So they will. I've had those. They will keep me enough flattered so that well, they lead me on, sort of, and they only led me on. They weren't into me. They only led me on to keep cashing in on the flattery, on the compliments, on the love letters, and so on. So I had that happening too. But you'll see in time whether that feels good or doesn't feel good. We have to listen to our gut instincts. When someone, for example, then he was traveling and he could have stopped by to see me, but he didn't. So that then I knew 100% that he was just playing around. He just wanted the compliments and the love letters. He didn't want me at all. So, and that's okay. I just wish people would be more honest and be straight out with it. So, but that Eric, he didn't want me, but he was my friend, and he was helping me emotionally, get through these real rough phases that I had. And I was very grateful for that. And he was not in resistance. Didn't want me as a girlfriend. And that's perfectly okay. What I'm talking about here is that we need to get rid of the resistance to someone. The resistance. Because I know that, for example, that the strawberry farmer, I can clearly see the strawberry farmer was sexually interested, but more kind of like in a creepy, secret type of way, like a secret. He didn't want me as an outward girlfriend, like didn't want me to be his girlfriend. He didn't want to be seen with me by his friends and by his other rich friends in San Francisco because I'm overweight and such. That kind of stuff. Real coward type of situation. So, And then this resistance towards me as a person. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the romantic part. The resistance from one person to another person, to the character of the personality, the energy of someone else. That's what I'm talking about. So that's an indicator that the person has not worked on their emotional things. Because I've seen that a lot. Also on Facebook, there are some kind of sneaky, kind of creep kind of guys. They will come up and they want me to send them photos. I'm not just talking about those obvious ones that want the white woman from the West. I'm talking about also some that are from this country and that are completely covert, like completely hidden. That may be someone who has some kind of reputation or someone who is known by the public even. And they don't want to have a crazy clown on their side. And so there's a resistance there. That's not a politically correct girlfriend to have, but she's okay for the secret masturbation type of things. That's an extreme disrespect towards another person. So, yeah, but all of this is happening, And that, that hiding, not wanting to show yourself with a specific woman, that's also that's the same state of resistance that I'm talking about. Not even wanting to get to know her. I started to tell that guy something about me. I thought maybe he'd be interested, get to know me a little bit. But the response was very cold. The response was, well, whenever you have time to make a video of you nude, send it to me. Oh my God. I'm like, I'm just a number. I'm just, I'm like silicone lady or robot number 5040. It's like some kind of sci-fi movie. I'm silicone robot, like an empty shell 5040. Now, here, let's put the AI brain in it. Send her to Topanga Canyon Boulevard number whatever 5040 to match. And then Mr. whatever his name is, Mr. Ulrich Hetfield or whatever his name is, can then secretly unpack your box and take you out and do things to you. But he has to make sure that no one is spying on him while he's doing it. I will say to people, I want to talk about philosophy. Are you wanting to talk about philosophy? And then I don't hear anything from the person for like 3 weeks, and then suddenly they send me a reply on message and they say, I want to see the sole of your feet. It's like, okay, I guess I'm gonna block that person now. Oh, jeez. Your foot soles, they are so sexy. I guess some people have the strangest fetishes. That is so amazing. I'm not making fun of it. I'm just, you know, I just find it rude. I find it rude to act these kind of things out on someone. On anyone, whether it's a hooker or a porno star, or I used to do porn in LA, you know. So I'm not I'm not saying that, yeah, that you shouldn't specifically talk like this to a philosopher, but you know, it's specifically rude. I find it just not in terms of the person they're talking to, but in terms of what the person wanted to talk to you about, you know. Yeah, I am a philosopher, I want to talk about philosophy, and they totally disrespect me and change the subject and just want something, you know, for their own pleasure. That's very, very rude and disrespectful. And that's total disconnect in my opinion. Again, the person hasn't resolved any of their issues at all. You know, for people, if they are in resistance to the truth, if they are not willing to dive into themselves, they cannot see the other living being for who she or he is. There'll be a disconnect. So it requires introspection, and that's why I say this is our only path. We don't have any other path. We don't have any other choice. I don't know if this is showing, oh, just showing my fat belly. I made this pants, by the way, made it myself. I love it. It's a double layer baby blanket. It's gonna turn off any time now. So awesome, that camera stand. I'm so happy about it. So my message to the world is, get pens and paper and start painting. And paint out what you've always wanted to say. Free yourself from the burdens of the past and the shackles of the pain and the hidden emotions. And love, really love all living beings equally much.